And queen takes f3. Oh, what is going on? Oh, this is going to be a fortress. I just don't see any hopes at all. This is very easy. Just rook back and forth.
Taking chess to the next level.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, yeah. Nothing else to say. Wow.
Creating the future of the sport. Introducing the Champions Chess Tour. 10 months, 10 tournaments. The world's best players online and on TV.
And queen takes.
So this is the broadcast tool here, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see in all its glory. You can see the notation. You can also see the engine evaluation next to each move, and also how long they spend.
What I like is you can make your own moves on the board. You can check the alternatives to what the players did. And even for the moves you make, you get the computer evaluation here.
Fantastic.
I think you get it.
All right, so welcome everybody, and this is Grandmaster Sam Shankland here for a Banter Blitz session. We'll be playing some Blitz games and talking them out. As it should say in the title, I'm only going to be playing white today, and I'm only going to be playing with my chessable repertoire, which I'm going to put here in the chat real quick. Let me just do that. So in other news, this might be a session where I will fail to remember some of my lines completely, but I will do my best. So you can find the chessable repertoire in there. I'm going to be playing with white here. So let me see who all wants to play. All right, let's start with Pokiri Gambits. Good luck to you. Let's have a good game. All right, so I'm going to play d4. Let's see if I can remember my own repertoire and if I can make any trouble. All right, so knight c3. So against King's Indian, I ended up recommending the Gligerich. Let's see if I can cause this guy any difficulties. So bishop e3 was my recommendation. Oh, he hasn't studied my course. He doesn't know what to do. Yeah, so the main moves here are knight g4 and ed4, but black does have some other options. So he's thinking, okay, knight c6 I don't think is a great move, because here the point is after d5, I'm able to go knight d2. And getting this coordination, bishop e3, knight d2 in these sort of Mar del Plata style positions is very good for white, and it's something that's very annoying for black to deal with. Additionally here, I haven't committed yet to castling short, so I can very easily castle long in a position like this one, and I'm still going to try to bust the queen side. That feels like the best plan all the same. But yeah, I think this coordination for white with bishop e3, knight d2 is very nice. And here, if I recall, I gave b4 in the course, and after f5, I can play f3. And I don't think black can really do anything too special to me. If he plays f4, bishop f2, and tries to play like a King's Indian, and then g5 and starts to throw the king side, I'm just going to castle long, and the attack will not work. So this seems very reasonable for white already. And I think I have quite a good position. Okay, so knight f6 is probably the best decision, but I still don't think it's particularly appetizing for black. So I'm going to go c5 and proceed along with my queenside play. If fe4, I will always have fe4 back. And then once fe4 happens, then and only then, I think I might consider castling short. And because I'm not as worried about other stuff. So there's a game in the illustrative games, yeah. So fe4. Now that black is no longer able to play f4, here I think I'm going to be pretty comfortable castling short, and it just feels like a very, very good version of the King's Indian for white to me. I can't see really any counterplay for black. If somehow his knight on e7 were out of the way, maybe he could hope for to play like knight g4 or something, but that's not the case here. So after a5, I have a few options, but I think probably taking a5 feels best because when the rook takes it, I will have knight c4. So if I wanted to keep things a bit calmer, I certainly could have played. I could have played b5, but I kind of like this way because now when my knight gets to c4, his rook is going to get booted around, and basically the queen side is opening when black is not really ready for it, and I don't think we'll get much counterplay. The reason I didn't start with knight c4 was I was concerned that maybe black would sacrifice an exchange with rook c5, while here that would be a much less enticing option. So yeah, now I'm ready to castle next, and because black has already committed to playing f takes e4 rather than f4, I don't think my king is particularly worried about anything, and I think that white is in very good shape here. Oh wow, okay, so rocking the boat, are we? So knight takes e4, queen h4 check, and then knight f2. Knight f5 is a bit annoying, but if I go knight g3, knight f5, bishop f2, I think I have that under control. This guy's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing, but oh wait, there's no queen h4. I'm blind as a bat. Okay, so knight takes e4, he goes rook d5, but I don't believe in this at all. So I will go queen b3, which seems like it puts the queen on a nice annoying diagonal, and here I think that black does not have nearly enough for a piece. Man, I'm blind. Somehow I thought queen h4 was coming there, but it's clearly not. And here, like, I have so many pieces around my king, and he has basically nobody ready to attack, so I think that I should be in very good shape. If bishop e6, I always have knight g5. So here, does knight b6 not quite trap the rook, but it does take the bishop on c8. It's kind of annoying that I can't castle, but maybe I should just duck the bishop back to f2, but that feels kind of sad. Knight b6 and taking that bishop on c8 feels pretty reasonable. Yeah, let's go knight b6 and take this bishop. He probably should play bishop e6 and just throw stuff and hope for the best. I'm sure he does, but I don't think this is going to work too well. So I think I should start with knight g5. This way his bishop will be forced back, and then I can go knight takes d5 next, and I think I have this under control. I can even go bishop c4 next, come to think of it. Hang on, bishop c4, knight f5, bishop d5, and I win. If bishop c4, where's the rook go? a5, then bishop takes g8, knight f7 check, and I win. Bishop c4 is kind of nice. It actually embarrasses this rook a bit. I like it. Yeah. One annoying thing about the King's Indian is there's always some kind of counterplay, even if it's not enough. Like here, rest assured, white is completely winning here, but it's always at least a little bit annoying that like there's some counterplay, but I think I got this under control. So okay, e4, hoping for bishop takes a1. Sure, I don't believe it. So let's, I guess, take on d5 seems fine. He will take on a1, and then I think I should be crushing with knight c3, hoping for bishop d4 next. All right. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to read the chat, but it's not easy. So here, I guess the point is bishop d5, queen a5, but then bishop d2 gets the queens off, so that should be good enough. Trying to read the chat and play the game, but it's tough. This guy's pretty good, so, and he was putting me under a little pressure, so I had to be ready. So here, if bishop a1, bishop g8, he cannot even take back because of knight f7. I have 2 extra pieces, which should be completely winning. But if queen a5, bishop d2, I get the queens off, and then he goes like queen d5. I will take it, and then without queens, there's no way black is going to hold this together. We will have not nearly enough counterplay. All right, so he takes with the bishop on d5, which is clever, but I don't think will save him. So I can, for example, take on a5, and now after bishop b3, I'm thinking maybe I should just take on b3, king e2, and then where does the bishop go? I don't even know. That has to be completely winning. Let's just keep things simple. He takes on a1, king e2. this bishop doesn't have a great place to go, and because now I can take this pawn. If d5, I have rook d1, and if king here, I have king d3. And white's a piece up, and I should be winning. So let's go bishop c3, keep things nice and simple. And knight takes d6. Yes. So knight e8 check. And okay, so I managed to escape disaster this time. I think the repertoire looks pretty good there. Black always had a little counterplay, but I think I had it under control pretty nicely. All right, who else wants to play? Let's play with remember, guys, only challenge me with black because I want to be playing white and advertising my my course that way. So only challenge me with black. Here's a guy who wants to play with black. Let's play. Oh, sorry, oops, I clicked decline. King Harvest, you can challenge me again. I accidentally clicked decline on you. I tried to click accept. That's the worst kind of mouse slip. All right, Power of Knights. Let's start with you. Okay, let's see if I can make this repertoire work again. Hungarian, I think. Yeah, King Harvest, I'll play with you next. I clicked the wrong thing. You can just challenge again, and I'll be ready after this game. Power of Knights, you have 5, 4, 3. Okay, just barely made it before I aborted. All right, so let's see. Queen's Gambit declined. I was playing Knight c3, and now what is black want? Rogozin. So I gave the old main line here, and this is not so common nowadays, but I think it's pretty decent for white. So e3, and now the modern move is bishop f5. Let's see if he knows that. He does. So bishop e2. And here black's just like one move away from equalizing, because in these Carlsbad structures, if black can get the bishop to f5 first, he should be in pretty good shape. But the point is his bishop on b4 is somewhat misplaced, which I can take advantage with the queen b3. So now it's takes, and I take with the queen. And here the main move, I believe, is c6. And here I gave knight d2. And I thought white was a bit better in this endgame that comes. So knight e4 is black's main try here. Yep, bishop d8, bc3. And for a long time, this endgame was thought to be totally fine for black. But Gristrick recently, or not super recently, came up with an idea that I thought was very dangerous, where he started with a4, stopping any hope of b5, and then rerouted his pieces with knight f1. And his point was that his king will come to d2, and he will play it with knight g3. And I thought this was actually putting black under a lot of pressure in this endgame. Okay, so knight f6. I guess f3 seems like a good place to start. Yeah, so basically, the problem for black is whenever he plays c5, I can put my king on d2, and then because there are no queens, my king is quite fine there. And then I think that black's isolated pawn on d5 tends to be weaker than white's pawn on c3. So here I'm going to go king d2. Maybe I should have started with knight g3, but I don't think it matters too much. So I'm going to go now. Let's go. Sure, let's go knight g3, then the bishop moves and h4 could be coming. That's okay. Let's go knight g3, and then when the bishop moves away, I'm ready to play h4, fixing the pawn on h5 as a potential weakness, which actually will be a little bit more annoying for black to deal with than it might appear at first glance. So in a lot of these structures, once black plays c5, white should be considering rook a2 to overprotect the c2 square. Additionally, rook a2 can help white later play rook b2 and reach the b file where black has some weaknesses. And I think this position is actually a lot more difficult for black than it looks. So I'm going to start with rook a2 here, as I mentioned, hoping for rook b2. And guys, I am looking at the chat now and then, but I'm not like Hikaru. I can't just look at it and keep playing and stuff like that the way he does. So I'm going to go rook b2 here, getting this rook to this nice active square, but then he has rook e7. I could start with bishop d3. I kind of like that, actually. Let's get these bishops off the board. This way, it's harder for him to play rook e7. And because of the potential fork on f5. So we get these bishops off. And at some point e4 could come as well. So he cannot. He blundered into rook e7, so that ends the game immediately. But I think that this endgame is also very difficult for black in general. I'm sort of regretting letting him play h5. Maybe I should have played g4 earlier, but all the same here, I got this one. So rook b1, and now it's all over. Yeah, so I think this endgame is actually really uncomfortable for black. I mean, he didn't have to lose an exchange like that, but all right, so good game. So who did I promise I was going to play next because I misclicked on him? It was King Harvest, right? So let's play with King Harvest here. Let me find him. It's a lot of people, so... Why don't I see? There's the King Harvest challenge. Okay, King Harvest, let's play. All right, so I will play d4 and keep on with my repertoire, see if I can cause any trouble at all. So knight c3. Grunfeld. I recommended the Russian system. So let's see what King Harvest has in store for me, or more importantly, if I can even remember all of my lines that I recommended. So after knight a6, I gave bishop e2. And the line follows like this. And here, black's whole point in this, so knight b4 first. So this was like the Li Chao game with Gelfand. And now I gave rook d1 here. And if I recall, black's big point was knight c2, knight d4, but I wasn't that impressed by it. And here the point was, in the Gelfand game, after knight e8, Gelfand played bishop f4. And while giving this exchange is not necessarily a problem, so to speak, it's not like we're scared of bishop takes d4. The real issue is that white's queen after knight d6 won't have a great square. So here I think I gave, was it rook d2? I'm pretty sure it was rook e1 I gave here. And I thought that white had chances for an edge. His queen ends up a little bit awkward on a3, if I'm not mistaken, but it's not the end of the world. So it's queen b4, rook e8, bishop f4, bishop f8, and I'm ready with queen d4 as needed. Trying to remember this stuff. You can also just go queen f4. So I thought it was queen b4 though, because you don't want to allow queen b6. Let's go queen b4 here. And then, so a5, and now if queen a3, rook e8, yeah, this is, I'm pretty sure this bishop e3 is the move maybe. And then bishop f8, and my queen, the queen always ends up a little bit awkward here. I'm just trying to remember all the lines. So queen a3, rook e8, bishop f4, bishop f8. Maybe I can just go b3 there, and then my queen will escape to c1. I think that's probably right. I'm pretty sure this queen a3, bishop f4 is the way you're supposed to go. Yeah, so bishop f8, he's following everything I'm saying. But yeah, so b3 here, and where is his big idea? Maybe he has queen f6 there, actually. Why can't I remember this stuff? I used to be able to just remember everything so easily. So what's black's actual threat? I guess knight c4 would trap my queen, right? I can go knight a4 and then knight e4, and I'm losing a piece. So I can go knight d1, and then my queen should escape. It's not glorious, but knight d1 seems reasonable. So knight d1, if knight b5 or something, queen g3. If knight e4, there's queen f3. Yeah, knight d1. It's not glorious, but my queen should escape here, and at some point I can end up with an extra pawn. I'm just wondering. I think this guy has studied this more recently than me, and he seems to be better versed in this line than I am, but at least he's finally thinking. That is a good sign. Yeah, know your stuff. If you don't know your stuff, you can end up in some trouble. So rook c8, I suppose that's natural enough. I think I want to get my queen out of there, so I guess queen h3 seems pretty sensible. Maybe I don't have to though. Knight e3, knight c4 sort of traps the queen. Can't think that much either because I'm running out of time. Let's go queen h3. This feels like the right way to go. Get the queen out of there. So rook e3, rook c4, and now If I was thinking bishop d6, knight e3, but then he will have rook h4. So here rook h4 is actually kind of dangerous as well. Let's see, how do I play this? Wow, I'm so slow today. Can just take and go g3. That's sad. But you got to do what you got to do. All right, I'm running out of time. I got to speed this up. So takes, I'm going to go bishop d6 and then g3. My queen will escape. I'll be ready with knight e3 next. And then I'm starting to consolidate the position to some degree. It's still very dangerous, but I think I'll be okay. Sure, so back home. And now knight e3. And now the position is changing because he will get back his lost pawn, but his structure is going to become compromised, and that will potentially leave me with some kind of attacking chances. Whoa, he sacrifices. Okay, now we're playing chess. All right. This is a hostile move. He wants to mate me on the g3 square, so I guess I gotta go queen f2 or then bishop c5. If bishop d3, bishop g3, bishop c2, is he mating me? Yes, he is. Man, I have no time either. Man, how did I get so low on time so fast? All right, let's go queen f3. Seems like the only way. And this is scary, but okay, rook b2. Let's go rook c1 and stop him from getting the bishop to c5. Sure, and then bishop f1, and I think I'm potentially ready for e4 next, and then start getting stuff going. All right, h5, let's go rook c4, control some squares. a4, sure. How do I have no time already? All right, rook e2, challenge this rook. That was dumb. Now it's just got rook a1. It's okay. Well, he took it. I wasn't expecting that. All right, so rook a4. Man, this has been a stressful game, if nothing else. Here, take, take. And he gets d5 too. I'm playing this game so badly. Sure. Here. Got to pick up the pace too. I'm just flagging. Here. Behind. This is so lost. F2. Yeah, all right. Good game. I talked too much this game. All right. I can't even find the resign button. All right. Good game, King Harvest. Let's see who's next. I talked way too much that game. Let's see. I will play with Couvervan. Couldn't remember my analysis there. Not a great advertisement for the course. All right, Couvervan, good luck. Let's see. Screwed. Oh shit! I sort of just had Grunfeld in my mind, and now I've forgotten to. Oh, but we're transposing back to the course. Okay. Whoa, what is this? Is this like a wannabe Blumenfeld with my knight on c3? This looks like fun. I like the spirit, but okay. This is some crazy stuff, man. I was supposed to play like my normal course, and I was trying to, but I just sort of autopiloted the Grunfeld. Hang on, guys. There's so many people questioning in various chats. Hang on. What was the question? Yeah, guys. The line I recommended against the semi-Slav. I mean, I think white ends up with like a slightly more comfortable position, but it's nothing like wildly scary. That's pretty normal for looking at a mainline opening. All right, so here we have sort of a weird Benko Gambit looking like thing where black has an A pawn instead of an E pawn, which of course should be heavily in white's favor. So let's start with bishop d2, because he just doesn't have nearly as much counterplay on the queen side. Now, as well, there's issues with keeping d6 defended. So I'm going to start with a check here because it's annoying for him to block it. He'll probably have to play like knight fd7, which he's not happy about. Or queen d7 is fine. But I think that trading queens in this position should just be like winning for white, mainly because the difference with the pawn on a7 as opposed to e7 means that I get good play against the d6 pawn, and also it means that he does not have nearly as much play on the a and b files. So I think this should be routinely winning for white. Sure, knight b6. Do I care about knight c4? Not really, because I can just go b3. So let's, my king is a little awkward though. Let's go rook e1 and then tuck my king back away is fine. I'm gonna go b3 next. So I guess now bishop f4 makes a lot of sense because he cannot play knight h5 in response. So now that the knight is gone, this looks pretty good. So here, I guess b3, bishop f6 is the point, but rook ac1, and I don't believe it. So also bishop f6, I can play knight b5, which looks actually really good. So yeah, this should be routinely winning now. I'm gonna transform the structure, giving him the giving myself the protected passed pawn on d5 and black the weakness on c5, and this is very much over. Yeah, so I guess let's go rook ec1 and pile up on the c file seems like an easy way to finish the game off. Sure, rook c4 and rook c1, and white's gonna win the c5 pawn, and I'm going to be 2 clean pawns up with absolutely winning position. So let's even be a bit more sadistic and play b4 to get the connected passed pawns. That might conclude the game faster. So here, let's go c6. All right, f3 just to keep everything solid. Sure, bishop d6. I'm going to put the rook on b7. Seems like a good policy. Rook on b7. No. Rook f7, sure. I guess we'll start with knight b6. He probably has to play. I mean, okay, so he takes that way, but I thought here I could take on c8, and now his bishop will be removed, and then I can crush through on with d6. So rook b2 check is, well, it's his only move, but of course it's not going to save him because now the d pawn is coming, or in this case, I think the c pawn is even easier. So take, and now let's go check, and okay, rook a7, and he has to stop both bishop g5 and bishop b6. So he stopped one, but not the other. And so I managed to avenge myself. Good game to Couvervan. Let's see who else wants to play. All right, Kasparovfan, let's play with you. I am also a fan of Kasparov. So this time I'm going to try to remember my repertoire. Okay, b6. So here I gave e4, and then bishop d3. g6. Did I even cover this? The hippopotamus? I don't think so. All right, so good rule of thumb, guys, for the hippo. Just decide whether you want to play c4 or f4, play one of them and not the other, and then break on that side of the board. So here, someday c5 will come, and that should be very bad news for black. So I'm not going to bother with any f4 or anything. And here, the center will break at some inopportune moment, and black will have a bad position. So d5, but structurally, if black wanted to play a plan like this one, he should have played e6, d5 without b6, bishop b7, because now the bishop on b7 is terribly misplaced, and it would much rather be on c8, where he could potentially fight for like the f5 square. But this is already very bad for black. So here, let's go rook c1. If he plays c5, I always have knight b5, so I'm never particularly worried about it. And yeah, so here he just does c5 anyway, which I guess makes some sense, but with knight b5 coming, it just feels like it shouldn't be very good. Too many weak squares and weaknesses. c4, sure. So if knight d6, c d3, knight b7, rook c1 should be absolutely winning. But let's just tuck the bishop back so that I can put the knight on d6 next. And I think this knight on d6 should be the boss of the board very quickly. And I would imagine I might just give mate on the king's side sooner rather than later. Like, for example, here I'm just going to throw knight g5 next and start playing queen g4, and I think that black should get himself mated. If h6, I can take on f7 twice, e6 check, bishop g5 check, and take all of his stuff. So e6 also is just a pretty big threat here, but I might not even play it. I might just go queen g4 next. And I think black's king should just die pretty quickly here. Maybe he should sack on e5 just to complicate the game a little, but I don't think it'll save him. Yeah, so e6 is very tempting here. In fact, does e6 trap the queen? It does if he takes it. So I will get to take on f7. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tempting to play queen g4, but e6, knight f6, ef7, king h8, and my knight is in trouble. Let's just go queen g4 and get ready for queen h3 when this attack just seems utterly devastating. If h6, of course, I can take on f7, and then, all right, so he does this way, but I think this should fail. So if I take on f7, rook takes f7, queen e6, I don't think he defends his stuff. So queen e6, and if I'm not mistaken, this just falls right now. This was certainly not the only winning move. I could have also taken on f7 and played bishop g5, which would have won as well. But this seems a bit more to the point. All right, queen f8. So I guess I take on f7 and then take on e5, and the rook is hanging in h8, and bishop d4 is coming, and I'm up a rook, and this game is over. All right, so good game to Kasparovfan. I don't advocate playing the hippopotamus. I think there's a lot better openings out there. All right, let's play with Panurge. This should be a good challenge. He's rated pretty high. So good luck to Panurge. I'm going to try to keep my repertoire going. d4. It's knight f6, now it's c4. Okay, so I'm not going to play knight c3 like a dunce this time. I'm going to stick with my repertoire, knight f3. So g3, Queen's Indian style. All right, so I gave b3. All of this is still following the repertoire, and b5. Now here I have to remember what I gave, which is easier said than done. But what did I give here? I don't even remember what I gave. It was a pretty brief analysis, I know that. I think I remember it being, there was some kind of quick a4 at some point. Yeah, so I think this is fine so far. Bishop g2, I'm pretty sure this is right. Yeah, I think I remember it now. It took me a second, but now I remember more or less what's going on. So in general, I think black's best move here may be bishop b4 check, but after bishop d2, a5, I remembered, okay, so bishop c6 was a move, but I don't think it was supposed to be very good. I'm just trying to remember why. So castle. But this is like some more sort of modern thing. There's some Kovalenko game I remembered that was on my to-do list to analyze. Bishop e7, and now I can go knight c3. And this whole structure just doesn't feel great for black. Okay, so queen c8, I guess the point is he wants to play queen b7. I mean, I'm sure that's the point, but I question whether he'll be able to pull it off easily. So for example, let's say I go bishop g5. I'm now attacking this knight, and if queen b7, I think I can take the knight and play e4 is one decent idea. It's not the only idea, but it's a decent one. So if I take the knight and play e4, he can castle. I'm not yet winning a piece with d5 because c3 is hanging. I could just be patient for a move too. I kind of like being patient. I can start with rook c1, and now if he castles, I'm ready with e4 because he cannot take it easily. And this, I don't really get the whole point of this line. It feels like black has opened the c file, and the only way he can justify like a structure like this is if he gets c5 in, and bishop c6 is completely inconsistent with playing c5. I think I showed an edge even if black does play c5 earlier, but putting the bishop back on c6 like this is not something I think is particularly good. So yeah, here now I'm very tempted to take on f6 and throw e4. That will threaten d5, which is actually pretty hard to stop. Yeah, I'm not going to talk myself out of this one. Let's just go for it. Take and e4. And I think black is under a lot of pressure. Yeah, once e4 comes, it's going to be very hard for him to stop d5. So this, I think, looks very dangerous for black. Yeah, guys, I sent the update a while ago. I'm not sure when they'll be put into Chessable. I think they said it should be soon, though. So updates are on the way. This line here I forgot to include in the first iteration of the course, but I definitely did check it, and I remembered checking this bishop c6 move, but thinking it was usually not great. In general, I thought black had to follow it up with bishop b4 in some capacity, but this structure here feels pretty bad for black. So, okay, queen a7 seems, right, does this just lose? d5 and knight b5 is coming. And this feels like it should just lose. d5, if bishop c3, dc6 has to be, well, hang on. How bad is it after bishop c3, dc6? Bishop f6, e5, bishop e7. It's actually not immediately over. It looks really bad for black, though. Let's just, I mean, I'm also tempted by e5 followed by d5, like e5, bishop e7, d5. He has to take it. I take with the knight on d5. They both look fantastic, but I'm just going to go with d5 first. So he should take on c3 here, but after dc6, he's going to be left with not only a bad structure, but also I think my knight is getting the c6, which is very bad news for black. Yeah, so dc6, and now I think he has to play bishop b4. If he plays bishop f6, I will go e5, and then cd7, knight d4. But this still looks very bad. For example, after bishop b4, cd7, knight d7, knight d4, he really doesn't want to let the knight get to c6, but if he plays knight e5 to stop it, I have knight b5, winning material on the spot. So it really feels like black is in trouble no matter how you slice it. So we start with e5 here, kick this bishop once more, and then after I take on d7, knight d4 comes, and this should be the end for black. There's just too many threats. Knight c6, knight b5, bishop a8, it's all hanging. So I think black is going to lose here. Yeah, so here I see a pretty nasty move. I think just about everything should win, but I really like this bishop c6 move, which just basically tells black you cannot move. And seems very effective. If rook c8, I think I should play bishop a4, and then knight c6 is coming. Yeah, so rook d8, and my thought was bishop a4 here. And now I don't believe black can prevent knight c6, and that should very much be the end of the game. I'm also throwing knight b5 here even. So far, apart from that one Grunfeld game where I couldn't remember the stuff, the repertoire has been looking very good. Even that Grunfeld game, I think I was better in the beginning before losing control later on. Okay, so c5. Let's go knight c6. And I wish there was some psychotic move here, but I don't see it. And what's Black's next move? Does he even have one? I mean, I could be really mean and just go Queen D3. Yeah, this is Banter Blitz. Let's have some fun. Of course, I could just take on D8 like a rational person, but this Queen D3 looks like more fun. So then let's go Rook FD1, and Black is just completely stuck. And this is absolutely over. All right, so there is it finally time to take this rook. All right, I'll take the rook. Okay, so good game to Panurge. I think I managed to put this line under some pressure. Who else wants to play? Let's play with BEU. Good luck to you. So let's see how this repertoire goes. D4. All right, so I gave knight C3 here. So let's see what this fellow wants now. Okay, so Chebanenko-Slav, I recommended knight F3 and bishop G4. Can you play that move here? I don't think you're supposed to be able to. Hang on. Normally they play bishop F5. Here I will get knight E5 faster. Let's try Queen B3. I mean, normally there would be bishop F5 there instead, but so here I can take this one, and now this move knight E5 is going to come with a gain of tempo, which I think is very nice for me. All right, so he takes that way. I think A4 is the move here. Yeah, let's go A4 and open the queen side. This is sort of typical for this line. But okay, so he takes on F3, but this feels like I'm just going to blow up the queen side, and there's no way he's going to take advantage of these doubled pawns in a way that bothers me. So I think that here I'm just winning. So yeah, so knight D5, and now if AB, I take on A8 and I have knight C7, and if EG, Queen D5 conveniently attacks the rook, so he cannot take my bishop, and now I'm up 2 central pawns with the bishop pair to boot, and Black can barely move, so this is, I got this one. He should try rook C8 here, but I mean, anything is fine. Trade on D7 and go bishop D2 seems easy enough when I will take all of the stuff. Okay, so I guess I gotta go king E2. And again, here my king is completely safe despite the somewhat compromised kingside structure, and the 2 extra pawns should count. So that's a rook in the corner. So yeah, Black's only move is Queen D8, but it will not save him. Okay, so good game to BEU or Bo or whatever. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but let's see who else wants to play. Ooh, there's a Grandmaster rated 3000 who wants to play with me, but it's random, so I can't accept that because I have to be playing white and advertising the repertoire. Let's see, we have Pisu. This guy has a high rating. Let's see if he can put me under some pressure. All right, so Pisu, good luck to you. Oh, French. Let's see what this fellow can do to me. So, playing the repertoire. Let's see for. All right, so we can get another Grunfeld or a King's Indian. King's Indian it is. Fair deal. All right, so knight F3. Okay, so this was the whole point, this Gligorich. How does this high-rated French fellow want to break down the Gligorich? So he takes on D4, which in my opinion is the best move. F3. And now knight c6 is not a great move. Basically here, this if I were to castle here after knight h5, it's I think white's a little better, but it's sort of interesting. But one of the points is I haven't castled yet, and I can just sort of play this like a dragon, and knight h5 to f4 will not help black very much. So here, this is supposed to be pretty good for white. The flexibility of having not castled makes the knight h5 to f4 plan totally fall on its face. But now that black has played knight d7, I can consider castling short again, because his whole plan against castle short is knight h5, knight f4. I'd be pretty tempted to castle long and start throwing stuff, but there he can take everything on d4 and go queen g5 check. So I'm going to stay boring for this game, pointing out that knight d7 is completely out of place with black's plan against castle short. And this sort of flexibility of letting me castle on either side, depending on what black does, is a key point of the Gligorich. And as a result here, I think white is clearly better with the extra space. So queen g5 is tricky, but I have bishop back to e3, so it doesn't help much. All right, knight e5, sure. So let's go centralize the rook. I think black's position is just very unpleasant here. It's not like I can crush him in a few moves. This repertoire generally doesn't do that. It's very hard to crush a good player who's well prepared without much of a fight. But here I think white is obviously better with the extra space and no weaknesses. And this is the kind of position I'm very happy to reach in this repertoire. And now I'm potentially ready for f4 next. Okay, so c6 feels like it's absolutely begging for f4 to just come and end the game. So should I oblige him? I think I should. So f4, and now this looks absolutely horrific for black. If knight g4, I can take g7 and then f5, but he has queen b6 check, king h1, knight f2 check, rook f2, queen f2, rook f1, queen h4. I mean, I'm winning there after fe6, but maybe it's not that easy. The problem for black is he doesn't have a choice. He just has to play knight g4 here. There's no other move he can even consider. But after knight g4, I think perhaps I can start with f5 instead of bishop g7, and that way he will not be able to get his queen to b6. So here the question is, I'm definitely playing f5. The only question is, do I want to take g7 first? So if I start with bishop g7, king g7, f5, let's say queen b6 check. If I go queen d4 check, take, gf5, ef5, knight e3, fe6, knight f1. I should be winning that, but it's a little bit annoying, I think. If ef7 there will be rook e3. So, and if after bishop g7, king g7, f5, queen b6 check, king h1, knight f2 check is complicating the game a little bit. If I start with f5, bishop d4, queen d4, c5, queen d2, and I'm good. If f5, bishop h6, fe6, and I'm good. I think I'm good there. fe6, just bishop takes g4 is good enough. I think f5 is lights out, but I would probably spend a little bit more time in a classical game just because you want to be sure, but I'm pretty sure this is lights out. So take, and now might be a good time to flick in bishop g7, because this attacking setup makes more sense now, but still, hang on, ef5, is there some trick? I really don't see it. Let's just take on f5. If bishop h6, my thought was I could sacrifice the queen with f takes e6 and take a lot of black stuff, but here I don't think he has anything. So yeah. You have a brother who looks and thinks like Sam and speaks like him too. Is your brother Tom Cruise? Okay, queen h4, but I can get rid of this knight, and then I should be winning with. All right, so good game to Pisu. Thank you for playing. Let's see, who else do we have here? Let's play with this black here. UDEMRepresentativo ajedrez. Okay. Suerte. Jugamos una bella partida. My Spanish is terrible, so I apologize. But okay, let's see how this repertoire holds up. We're going to get a King's Indian? No, I got the Grunfeld this time. Let's see if he plays the same line that the other guy played. It's actually one of Black's best lines, but it's like only been played like once or twice by but it's by like Lee Chat and Fedosseev, so it's good, guys. A6 first. I don't think that changes anything. I'm not going to overthink it. All right, so bishop e2, staying consistent with the repertoire. Black should play b5 here. Otherwise, why did you play a6? Sure, so queen b3. And now the best move is c5. Yep. So here there is bishop e6 or bishop b7. He goes for bishop b7, and now I go e5. If knight d7, we go bishop e3, preserving the c5 pawn. So Black should be a bit careful here. There's e6 is the best move, I'm pretty sure. So now we castle, queen c7, and the move is rook a d1. And there's a line here. He should play knight takes c5, I think, is the best move. And after queen a3, he actually has to be a bit careful here, because the most natural move by far, I think, is knight b d7 to get a new piece out. But it's not very good because, funnily enough, after rook c1, Black is basically losing material directly. So, which is sort of surprising to see rook a d1 and rook c1, but this is a key point of White's opening. So he goes for knight e7, but I believe that knight d7, but I believe queen e7 is supposed to be pretty good for White here. And this leaves Black in a very uncomfortable pin. There's a Gelfand-Svidler game that continued with rook c8 now, but I don't think that equalizes. It's quite hard for Black to complete his development is sort of the whole point, because he cannot play knight c6, he cannot move the knight off of d7, and I think this is a bit awkward for him. This is the best way Black can play this line, with bishop b7, but it's not great. So yeah, b4, is there any funny business here? I could go knight a4, and then it's actually very hard for him to stop knight b6, but maybe he can just go queen a5 there. Hang on, so knight a4, queen a5, rook d7. I don't believe in that. My knight's probably getting trapped. If queen takes b4, though, knight takes e5, and he seems more or less okay. Maybe it is knight a4 here. Not sure. Hang on. So knight a4, queen a5, b3. Let's say rook takes d7, knight takes d7. Queen takes d7. No, hang on. What am I talking about? Knight a4, b3. If knight a4, I want... Let's go knight a4. I feel like queen b4 is soft, and knight a4 should be the move here. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm playing this a bit too ambitiously. Maybe I'm slightly better after queen takes b4 instead. I don't know, but in fact, yeah, maybe it is queen takes b4. I think that's right. Queen b4, knight e5, and then knight e4 is the point, and queen d6 is coming. I think that's right. But well, it's tough to play these repertoires and remember them completely. I sympathize with all of you guys for that one, but I think White still has good chances here. It's a little bit awkward for Black to handle this position. But yeah, I think queen takes b4 was the move. Stupid old me. Queen a5, there's some interesting lines. I'm even thinking queen a5, knight b6 is possible. It looks pretty good, actually, because then, I mean, it's not that amazing, but like, say queen a5, knight b6, bishop f3, knight b6, bishop b6, queen b6, bishop a8, bishop e5. Black definitely has some compensation for the exchange because he already has one pawn and his dark squared bishop is very good and he's very solid. But with his knight stuck on b8 and unable to develop without getting exchanged, I still think White should be better. He's burning time here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe knight a4 is good. I don't remember checking b4 there. I thought the best move was queen d8. But one key point was that if instead of b4 he plays rook c8, which is a very natural move to overprotect the queen and potentially get ready for knight takes e5, white has a very nice resource in knight e4, pointing out that if bishop takes e4, white goes knight g5 with the winning position. So queen d8, if I'm not mistaken, this loses material because I can take this and then go knight b6, and I don't see how he gets out of it. So I believe I'm winning at least an exchange here, and possibly more. So bishop f3, does that change anything? Oh, I see. He can get the rook to a7 now, which still loses material, but not quite as cleanly. Hang on. So let me just find the best way. Bishop f3, rook a7. I can definitely go like knight a4, rook c7, bishop b6. But after bishop takes e5, it feels like I should be able to do better than that. I can go gf3. That way I can keep the knight on c4 safe, but still not that impressive. I can go bishop f3 and then rook a7, knight d5. That looks the cleanest so far, yeah. So let's go bishop f3, rook a7, and now I believe knight d5 is the easiest way. Knight a8 was also not stupid, but I think knight d5 is the easiest. And now it seems like I should be winning enough material to win the game. All right, so this one was also interesting, but I think I have escaped. So there I thought I could play rook takes d5 and then rook d1. Seemed good enough, so let's do it. Rook d1 is coming, and I should be a clean exchange up. And this looks like it's over. Okay, so good game to UDEMRepresentativo ajedrez. It looks like that's the second time I've played you, so thanks for playing with me. Let's see who else wants to play. Oh, someone wants 3+2. Let's play with Mark Lim. 3+2 always feels a bit more pure to me. All right, Mark Lim from the UK. Let's see what you got. So far, d4 is looking pretty good, except for that one game where I misplayed it. So let's see how this repertoire looks. e6, knight f3. He goes in for the Queen's Gambit. This is in part 3. Oh, the semi-Slav. So now I have to play against my own opening. Let's see what I came up with. So bishop d6. It's not supposed to be the right move order. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can punish it, but I'm just going to stay consistent with my repertoire and not do anything rash. If I wanted to punish bishop d6, there's probably better ways I could have done it. But so here he goes d takes c4 early, which strikes me as odd. So I'm going to play a4 and gain space this way. This is pretty consistent with how the repertoire wants to play, but we'll see if I can stick with it the full way through. So one of the points with knight bd7 is to prevent black from playing b5, but another point is that we can actually take on c4 with the knight, which I kind of like. And this I was very happy with in the repertoire. So for example here, this move order is weird, but we could transpose back to the repertoire if he were to play e5 here, which it sort of feels like black should play, because if I'm allowed to play knight takes c4 and then just clamp down on the center like that, I should be clearly better. So e5 would be his general idea, but following knight takes c4, bishop c7, and b3, I think white tends to be doing pretty well there. But this move order, though, I think I have messed up, because now in the event of b3, I'm not in time to get my knight to d6, but maybe I'm still better here. This bishop b8 move feels a bit out of place, and black will struggle to develop his queenside. So here, queen takes d4, and my point was with bishop a3 coming, I can look to potentially abuse the d6 square, but my move order may not have been the best in this particular case. Because here, yeah, he's in time for knight b6, which is a bit annoying. But still, I kind of like white's position here. So where do I want to go? Yeah, this is the problem. I needed to get bishop a3 sooner so that I could have him wasted a move on rook e8, but that didn't happen. So I have to improvise a bit. Let's go queen h4. There are some tactics following knight g4 here, but I don't think they work for black because queen d8, and if bishop h2, I have king h1 and bishop g4 just in time. He probably should take on c4 here and then go bishop e5, but I'm not wildly scared of that either. But yeah, I have misplayed this. I needed to get bishop a3 in sooner, and probably... Oh, now I remember what I had to do. Yeah, after d takes c4, I was supposed to play e4. That was the problem. So here he has played queen e7, walking right into my idea, so that I think... But yeah, the point was, after dc4, one of the big points of the bishop being on e2 instead of d3 is that since it's not attacking the bishop, there I think I could have gotten away with e4, and he wouldn't have been in time for e5. Yeah, so now this c5 move weakens black's position a lot, and now my rook is ready to come into play and get off of any tactics on e5, and I think that white should be clearly better here. So let's take with the bishop, and my pieces are looking very active. It feels like there should be a tactic sooner or later here. But I don't see it yet. Could start with bishop b5 and ask him to find a way to place for the rook. Let's do that. Bishop b5 feels like the move. Maybe it's stupid, but it feels like it's a bit annoying for black to find a square for his rook. My point is, if rook d8, I think I have knight e4, which will cause some problems. And if bishop d7, I can play bishop takes d7, knight d7, queen e7, rook e7. Oh, darn, I thought I had bishop c5 there, but he has bishop h2 check as an in-between move so that he can... Yeah, so this actually is... I think I've messed this up a little bit. My point was here that I wanted bishop d7, queen e7, and then rook e7, bishop takes c5, but then he can play bishop takes h2, check king h2, and then after knight c5, he's not made it on the back rank. So that's a nice defensive resource for him that I missed, but I think I can, maybe if I play knight d5 here, yeah, I think knight d5 just wins actually. So knight d5, my point is if he takes it, I take on e7, and then after rook e7, rook d5, no, he has bishop b5 and the rook comes back to e8. Ay, this is a tough game. All right, I'm going to play knight d5 anyway because I think it wins the pawn, but it's not as good as I would have liked. So there's going to follow knight d5, queen e7, rook e7, rook d5, bishop b5, and I cannot play rook d8 because he has the e8 square under control, but I can play a b5, and then the twin threats of rook d8 and bishop c5 are coming, and I'm going to at least win a pawn. So despite having misplayed this rather terribly, I think I'm going to end up a pawn up. So he must take with the rook. I don't think he has a choice. Actually, after rook takes, I don't think I have bishop c5. Yeah, so that should just lose. I mean, here, I guess I can take with the bishop and then take on c5 and remain at least one pawn up. Seems completely winning. But if he had taken with the rook, I would have had one pawn up with a lousy structure. It's probably winning, but it would have caused me trouble. All right, so who wants to play? Let's play with crypto. play with you before you lose all your money and have to abort your. Oh shoot! No, I can't play this one because it's with black. I'm supposed to be playing with white. Sorry, Crypto. Caro-Kann. You cannot play the Caro-Kann against d4. So let's see what you can do about that. All right. So c4. So I give this move order. Let's see what this guy wants. Chebanenko as well here. So he wants bishop f5, which is more of a main line. And after queen b3, what I gave in the course was knight h4, and then this, well, it was a novelty until I played it against Alejandro Ramirez cd5. And basically, we're going to get an exchange Slav here. So what's happened is black has burned 2 tempi on bishop f5, bishop c8, and I have burned 2 tempi on knight h4, knight f3. So that sort of ends up being equal, but because he has played a6, rook a7, and I have played queen b3, bishop, knight c3, that should be much more useful. So here I had this position with Ramirez, but with knight c6 instead of castle, and there e4 was very strong, pointing out that the bishop is somewhat misplaced on d6. I'm tempted to play it here as well. Let's go for it. In general, I think this bishop on d6 is somewhat misplaced for this structure. So, yeah, so he takes this, but now there's a lot of problems for black to solve here. For example, like if I play, just thinking about how I want to handle this, but this rook on a7 is just a really terrible piece. So I can, for example, go bishop g5. If he plays knight f6, I can take it, and he can't take back easily because of queen b6, and the rook on a7 is embarrassed. He can try bishop e7, but then I can like take it and say go rook ac1, and once more he cannot play knight f6 because of queen b6. So this rook on a7 just being misplaced and a6 making b6 a weak square generally makes these positions a bit tough for black. All right, so here the question is, can I take on f6? I mean, he can certainly take gf6, which is not the end of the world, but I also don't need to do anything. I can just go rook ac1 and ask him for a move as well. Let's just do that. I think this position is very difficult for black, but maybe this was dumb because of b5. And then his rook gets away. I don't know. b5, knight e5 though, and then I think black's under a lot of pressure in this structure, largely because of a6, rook a7. So, yeah, Aquitaine has an interesting line where black goes bishop b8 and then queen d8 back. I considered that as well. I also thought I would be better there, but it sort of occurred to me that I don't actually need to change anything right away. Yeah, so he plays b5 to free his rook, but my thought was here I could play knight e5. I mean, rook c6 is tempting too, but knight e5 really feels like the move. So if bishop e5, d e5, queen d4, just looks terrible. So let's go knight e5. And I think black is just too far behind in development. Essentially, in the Slav, I'm not recommending playing the exchange Slav proper, but there's lots of lines in the course where I recommend transposing the game into a position that, like an improved exchange Slav, kind of like we saw here, where like black, for example, had his bishop stuck on c8, which is something I'm very happy about. And here, And here I think that white is doing well. While I'm at it, I'm just going to spam the course in the chat once more because you can play this way with white if you want. It's all the courses are there. But yeah, so here I think that our Caro-Kann fellow could not play the Caro-Kann against d4, and I believe I'm in good shape. It's still not like over after, say, rook c7, but it looks very bad for black. I think rook c7 is basically the only move. Because if bishop e5, d e5, queen d4, like everything looks good for white there, but I was thinking even just a simple move like bishop e3 would be good enough. Even queen e3, and the rook on a7 once more becomes a target. It's just a big problem piece in this whole line. Okay, so he plays rook c7, which I do think is best, but I don't think will save him. And now I'm just wondering, I actually see, I think, a pretty cool idea. I can start with queen h3, so that, because I was thinking I could go knight c6, queen e8 or something, bishop f6, gf6, queen h3, but there he has f5. But if I start with queen h3 here, he has to play h6, I think, and then I can go knight c6, and I will get, and then I should be able to get the h6 pawn. So let's try queen h3. I kind of like this move. I mean, he can try rook c1, bishop e5, d e5, queen d4, but it looks really bad for black after ef6, queen e4, fg7. It will have equal material, and his king will really be taken for a ride. In fact, we won't have equal material. He can't take back on g7, so he does play h6, and my thought was here that knight c6 was working, because if rook c6, I have bishop f6 in between. Well, but then gf6. No, what am I talking about? That's fine. So hang on. Knight c6, rook c6, bishop f6. He can play rook c1, bishop d8, but he's down a rook there. I mean, he's down a queen. That should be good enough. Moreover, do I really have a choice? Not really, right? I mean, if I play bishop h4, g5, it's not great. Yeah, so knight c6 was my plan. Let's go with it. Rook c6, I have bishop f6 in between. And I don't think there's anything here. I mean, he has to try rook c6 and then rook c1, rook f1, but I think that I should be winning. I don't think he will be able to set up a fortress. Unless there's some goofy e5 move, which I totally don't believe in. Yeah, so that happens, bishop f6. And I really think he has to try rook c1. I think his drawing chances there are much higher than if he plays queen f6, but he goes for queen f6. And here, if queen d4, I can play queen d3, for example, and I think his drawing chances would have been much higher in the queen versus rook and bishop position than this one. Because here, I mean, my rook on c6 is just going to be so good. But it's still a little annoying. So let's just go d3 and keep everything nice and solid. Rook d8, sure. I guess rook d1 should be fine. And this should be technically winning. It will take a little effort, but I should get there. So I guess rook back to c1. And yeah, it's just technique at this point. So there, bishop h7 doesn't work, unfortunately. Other moves, I could play bishop b1, kind of like that. Let's just go bishop b1 this way. I break the pin and take the open file, and this should be good. Sure, so rook c5, I guess, and he uses this bishop on d5 as a glorified pawn, which is understandable, but it will not save him. So bring this back. Let's go rook c2, and then like, of course, I should probably just flag him, but that's not usually how I operate. Guess we can go like rook c1 and threaten rook c8. Okay, so he lost on time here, but the position is very lost for black anyway. Okay, so a good game to Caro-Kann. I think I sort of showed that black's under pressure in that variation. Who else do we have here? The polite German? I thought that's an oxymoron, but let's give this a try. All right, polite German. Let's see what you got for me. The rude American versus the polite German. Here we go. All right, so you're supposed to start with knight f3 here to stop e5, and this should just get us back to King's Indian pretty fast. Unless he plays bishop f5 now. So we're back in King's Indian. All right, and let's see if this guy has any trouble for the Gligorich ready for me. c6. What's this? All right, I'm just gonna, I mean, c6 is weird, but I'm just gonna continue along in the style of the repertoire. And as far as I recall, in these positions, the point was whenever black plays e5, whenever black plays c6, you want to meet it with d5. So actually here, I'm just gonna throw d5 at him right away and sort of encourage some kind of Benoni structure. And I think this is a fantastic version for white because he's not going to be able to play e6. So here I can go a4, and there's never going to be any e6 coming. So I don't really get black's point. I guess that's sort of hoping for e6 next, but that seems far-fetched. Let's go queen d2. And eventually I should slowly but surely expand. And I think without, I mean, I don't really believe in black's position in the Benoni where he goes e6, ed5, but like here, because he doesn't even get to play e6, I think the position is basically untenable. All right, so knight e8, I guess that makes some sense. I guess I can start with rook b1 and potentially have an idea of b4 if he's not careful. But I expect him to prevent it, but this also kicks his queen away, as I was going to say. And my thought is here that at some point I want to play bishop h6 and then throw h4, h5 and mate him. So that seems easy enough. We'll trade off one pair of pieces, his best piece, and then I'll be ready for h4, h5 to come soon. So knight b6, sure. I don't think let's just keep everything nice and safe. That seems like a good policy. All right, so he does eventually play e6, but I think this will lead to a lost structure for him. So I'll start with a5, kick this knight away. So he found the best square, which is unfortunate, but take e6, and I think structurally speaking, black is just in massive trouble here. Like I go, but a5 is hanging. Okay, so I got to be a little bit more careful than that. I was thinking of bishop f4, but here, like I go say knight a4, and the problem is the way black would try to punish me in a structure like this is to abuse the d4 square and get a knight there, but his knights are obviously a long way away from that. And here I should be able to put a lot of pressure on him and control the game pretty nicely. So already I'm tempted to play queen h6 and try to mate him. So queen h6, if queen a5, knight g5, knight f6, rook d6 looks all over. Queen h6, maybe he can play f6 though. So queen h6, f6 is a bit annoying. I think I'll start with knight g5 and just harass this bishop a bit and potentially look for some kind of f4, f5 to come soon. So he goes queen e7, and I suggested that f4 was the idea, so here it comes. That knight on a8 is really not pretty. So rook d8, but now the knight on a8 is stuck. Because there's knight b6. So I should be precise here not to do something stupid, but I'm going to play f5 and attack the king side. And my point here is that I think I'm pretty well equipped to deal with the weakness of the e5 square. I mean, really the dark squares like e5 and d4 are sort of the weaknesses here, but I think that I'm very well equipped to deal with them in this particular position because I traded off the black square bishops. And here I think black is in big trouble. Knight d5 is coming. So knight f6, sure, I guess I will go queen f4. Eyeballing the d6 pawn and looking for various tricks. Bishop c6 is sensible enough. So I'm going to go queen h4, threatening knight h7 and looking to open some files. So h5, that makes me, the Shanky senses are tingling. It feels like there should be a forced win here, but I don't see it yet. So I could just be calm, but being calm is so boring. But sometimes it's prudence. All right, let's just go queen g3. I think I'm strategically winning if he plays queen e5, and there's too many threats for him to handle here. Actually, if queen e5, I'm not strategically winning, I'm tactically winning. I can take it and take d8 and then take g6 and he's hanging. So here, all right, let's bring some more pieces. Yeah, so Black's problem is that he wants to play queen e5, but, well, that one should just lose. Hang on. So I take this, and then rook e3 comes, and that should be the end. f6 also looks crushing, but let's just go rook e3. This seems good enough. Yeah, it was very, I mean, Black had no space and it was very hard for him to move. Basically, these structures with e6, the reason White can't take e6 normally is that he's too weak on the dark squares, but because I was able to stop e6 for a while and then trade the dark squared bishops, then taking e6 became a possibility, and here I'm winning a piece. So, yeah, that's not going to hold. So knight e6 looks like mate. So score 1 for the rude American over the polite German. Yeah, good game, and see who wants to play next. Next up, we have who is playing here. All right. So, oh, yeah, I have another French person, Ghost. Okay, bon chance, Monsieur Ghost. No, sorry, we can't play. I'm supposed to be playing white. Sorry. This is a white-only one where I'm advertising my course. C'est-à-dire que je vais jouer seulement avec les blancs aujourd'hui parce que c'est un avertissement pour mon course sur Chessable. All right, Archivarin, let's play with you. Okay, Archivarin, good luck. Let's see if you can pose some trouble for me. All right, so c3, and what are we playing here? Okay, so in the Rogozin, I was recommending this old main line with bishop g5, and here I thought that white had better chances than the current state of theory would imply. So knight bd7 is completely out of place with Black's plan in this structure. He should be trying to get the bishop to f5, and he's not getting it there in time. So here, for example, I can go bishop d3, and after castles, I think the structure is just bad for Black. If he wants to play with knight bd7, he should be playing it without h6 and castle. Yeah, so here bishop c3 was sort of forced because if he played c4 directly, there would have been knight takes d5. But basically, this structure here all comes down to the e4 square and the b1 h7 diagonal. And I've seen a lot of positions where Black, after going c4, despite White having more pawns in the center and the bishop pair, if Black can quickly go like g5, knight e4, bishop f5, he tends to have a pretty good position. But here, because the bishop cannot reach that square, I think Black is just in bad shape. So I'm going to go knight e5 and start the attack, pointing out that my dark squared bishop is very powerful. All right. That sweet American accent speaking, which makes no sense. Come on, my French isn't that terrible, guys. If you want to make fun of my Spanish, go right ahead. It's pretty bad. But my French is actually pretty good. So let's go bishop c2. And yeah, this position should be very bad for black already. Yeah, guys, I can't even, people talking about Scotland, I can't understand it either. My last name, Shankland, is a Scottish name, and I cannot understand it when they call my own name. It's pretty difficult. But yeah, guys, I can speak, my French I would say is like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, and my Spanish is like a 3 or a 4. But yeah, basically this structure here, like if we had a similar structure with black's bishop on f5 and my bishop on e2, I think black would be doing quite fine. But the problem is it's all about the control of the e4 square, and that's the queen after knight c6. So, yeah. Now, guys, I know I have an American accent that, to be honest, it's somewhat intentional. I'm proud of it. But, yeah, here, now that's the queen. But I think these positions are okay for black if he gets the bishop to f5 first, but if he doesn't, he's usually in some trouble. All right. Okay, let's get someone from Romania who wants to play black. We can do that. And this will be the last game. So if I can only go this whole session with one loss, that'd be great. But let's see if I can pull that off. So good luck, Liberos. Let's see if I can put any pressure there. All right, so I like snowmans. I'm from California. We don't have snowmans. All right, so bishop f5 first, I think, is supposed to be somewhat inaccurate because of queen a4 check. If he wants to play this bishop f5 line, he should do it with castles first, because here, this position, this knight on c6 ends up misplaced, and the tactics favor white. So if he plays, for example, g5, bishop g3, knight e4, I'm in time with bishop b5, knight c3, bishop c6, bc, and queen b4, and white wins. So already here, I think white has a very good position. Knight e4 seems to fail to bishop b5. So that one also, this is just begging for bishop b5. It looks basically over already. He probably has to take c3, but like the position looks really, really bad. In fact, is it just over? Because if he plays a6, I can go knight e5 anyway. I guess he can castle here and meet bishop c6 with bishop c3. Or castle knight e5. Okay, so this has to lose. Hang on. Bishop e5, how do you defend? King e7. Bishop f6, knight d5 is definitely winning. If knight e5, bishop e5, you have to play king e7 there as well. That also looks really bad. Bishop e5 really looks good. I don't know. I'm going to go knight e5, though. I think this is probably the most professional. So he must take it, and then bishop takes e5 comes, and this looks absolutely hopeless for black. He has to play king e7, or else he's just losing like heavy material on the spot. I mean, maybe you can play queen e6, but no, then bishop f6, knight d5. So here, I think if I just castle, he still can barely move. And at some point, like, e4 should come, or rook a c1 or something. Yeah, black can barely move, and this position looks totally untenable. Yeah, someone's saying I should play queen a3 at some point. Of course I saw that, but there is king e6. Here I'm thinking queen a3 makes some sense. King e6, bishop c6, queen c6, rook a c1, and that has to just be collapse. Yeah, so I thought I might as well wait for one move and then go queen a3. I also could have just taken c6 there in a pinch and met queen c6 with queen c6, rook a c1, and black is absolutely lost in the endgame. But here I think I'm going to mate him, so that beam seems a bit more feisty. And yeah, this queen has no square. Okay, so knight a4 looks like the end of the world. Let's do it. I didn't even realize there was a hanging rook in the corner there. It's fine. All right. Okay, I guess we're going to be boring and technical, but that's okay. Winning is winning. All right, so I probably could have mated him there, but obviously it's completely irrelevant as white is dead winning here. All right, so actually that finished before, so we do have time for one more game. All right, let's find somebody who's really going to challenge me. Who has a high rating here that wants to play? FIDE Arena GM, and it's a 3-minute game, but that's random, so I can't play that. Okay, Makovic, last one for real. All right, let's. But this is, oh, it's 5 minutes, so I have a little time. Oh, Budapest, really? All right, let's see if I can remember what I recommended. I gave E4, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, E4, and then F4, knight G6, and here the point was I go knight C3, and if bishop C5, my big idea was queen H5 here, which I thought was actually very dangerous for black. And here the point is that if he plays D6, which feels like it's kind of forced, I'm ready with F5 and bishop G5, and then he will end up in a very awkward spot. I'm ready to castle long, and then the attack is very powerful. So he goes for this instead, but now black has basically no counterplay, which is good news for me. I'm wondering if I can do something horrible to him immediately. In fact, wait, does F5 just drop his knight? Well, it's hard to take because on G3 he will always have bishop takes G1. So it's hard to actually take it, but F5 feels like it's almost dropping the knight. Problem is knight D5 and stuff, there's always knight A6. F5, I'm threatening bishop G5 though. Let's go F5. I think I can potentially trap this knight. It's not super easy because I can't play G3 with bishop G1 in the air, but I'm threatening bishop G5, and if he plays like F6 or something, I can just go bishop F4, and even then just like bishop F4 castle long, and like position's horrible for black. Then I will be able to play G3. So yeah, I think F5 looks very good here. And his knight is already in some danger of getting trapped. It'd be really embarrassing if I got clobbered in the Budapest. We all know it's anybody who says they've never lost to the Budapest is a liar, but you know that when you lose to it, that it's because you're an idiot and not because the Budapest is a good opening. I've definitely felt that way before. But yeah, so here I think he sort of has to play something like H6, but my thought was now I could play bishop F4, gaining a tempo on the C7 pawn. Also potentially threatening bishop G3 in some cases. So like if he ever plays G6, I always have bishop G3. And now that he has burned that tempo, now G3 is an honest to goodness threat because I'm no longer scared of bishop takes G1. There's always knight D5 in the air as well, so he can't play knight C6 very easily. And I can also always just go like bishop G3 and then attack the knight that way. So, okay, G6. So now it's put up or shut up. If I play G3, he has bishop takes G1, rook takes G1, knight F3, and that feels very bad for him, but it's not that easy. I can play bishop G3 and force him to play G5. That feels pretty sensible. Yeah, let's just do that. It's probably, there might be something more aggressive, but this feels quite good enough. So now he has to play G5. And now this knight is basically forever trapped, and I just have to find the way to take it. Let's start with knight D5, but knight A6, and I don't really see a great way through. Need to get G3 through somehow is the problem. I think knight D5 is a good place to start. Let's just go knight D5. Among other things, this makes it very hard for black to complete his development. So he goes knight A6, but now the knight is somewhat misplaced, and my thought was now I could go A3. potentially threatening b4, trapping the bishop. And he can't get the bishop on d7 into the game so easily. And this knight on a6 is misplaced. Like, if he plays c6 here and I just duck my knight back to c3, I don't know how he plans to get his pieces out. So here I'm going to go b4. And now his bishop has to go back to b6, which is very bad news for black. And once that happens, I can potentially just take the bishop and go bishop f2, and then g3 is coming. But that at least opens the a file for him. I could just duck the bishop back to e1. I kind of like that. This overprotects the pawn on b4, and now next up I'm ready for knight b6 and g3. And then I should be winning. Also, the bishop coming to c3 could be incredibly powerful. So hard for black to even move here. Isn't this so much nicer, though, playing against the Budapest this way than it is to take a pawn and hold on? Here I just got all the space. I like it better this way. So that's a bishop on d7. So good game, Makovic. I managed to cause some trouble for the Budapest, which I'm happy about. So let me just post one more time here the link to the courses in Chessable. This repertoire, I think, held up very well today. I got a lot of really good positions. The one Grunfeld game I couldn't remember will continue to give me nightmares. But yeah, thanks to everybody for being here. This was fun. And yeah, I'd be delighted if you would check out the course. And if anybody wants to, it's in those links below. And hopefully we'll show you how to play d4 like this. Good games, everybody, and I will see you all in just a bit for my next thing, which is showing my best game from my last tournament.